Hey everybody, welcome to Grimsforge Gaming. Today we are going to give you an update to my Stamina Templar. This is Spartan Unleashed 3.0. Let's jump right into the build. First thing we are running is Ring of the Wild Hunt, and I think that typically your Templar class is considered kind of a slow class, so Ring of the Wild Hunt is going to be very important. Obviously this build is going to be for CP Imperial City, and it's going to be for Battlegrounds. And I have a couple people already running this with very high success, and then I've been running this on Spartan as well. But Ring of the Wild Hunt, and you can see that it's infused with weapon damage, and then the one piece down there says increase your movement speed by 15% while in combat, and increase your movement speed by 45% while out of combat. Movement speed is key, okay? So we are not running a front bar back bar setup on it. If we were running a front bar back bar setup, if you stay to the very end, I'll tell you what changes you can make to run a front bar back bar setup on this, and you'll be able to hit between 35 and 40k pen. There's no need to really ever have to run the 35 to 40k pen, but if you're running into super tanky dudes, that would be the way to do it. But right now generally we're at 29k, and then with two simple changes you could hit 35k pen on this, and we'll talk about that. But this is not a front bar back bar setup. This is the easy setup, and since we're running a mythic, that breaks up our monster set, so we're just running a one-piece trainee. Armor of the trainee comes in training. I'm not going to spend the transmute crystals to change that. You can, one of my followers on YouTube told me that you could do questing in Cyrodiil and you could actually get this in pen or different traits, so that's awesome. Thank you for that. But right now we're just running Helm of the Trainee for that extra health, and it helps get us out of the burst window range. And so Ring of the Wild Hunt for movement speed, and Armor of the Trainee Helm. Now the first armor set, first 5 piece that we are running is Mechanical Acuity. I'm a big fan of Mechanical Acuity. You still need to do the damage, and some people will say, man, I'm really turned off by a 20-second window. However, that first 5-second window is extremely scary, and if you don't kill somebody or burst them down in the first 5-second window, you can apply pressure and then reapply your buffs, and you're ready to go for the next window. It's as simple as that. It's roughly a 20-second rotation window, and that's the ebb and flow of PvP. That's how it works. My ult comes up in roughly about 20 seconds, so if I ult dump on somebody and I'm hitting them with 100% crit with 29k pen and I don't kill them in that moment, then maybe we should reassess the fight, reposition, whatever we need to do, get ready for the next 20-second window. Okay? Mechanical Acuity is extremely dangerous on a Stamplar. Okay, so you can see there 2 pieces max stam, 3-piece max mag, some weapon and spell damage, and then you get that 5-second window of 100% critical chance. Okay, the set that we have paired it with is going to be Night Mother's Gaze, and Night Mother's Gaze transferred over from Spartan Unleashed 2.0, and there's a reason for this. When you deal critical damage, you apply major breach to the enemy, reducing your physical and spell resistance, reducing their physical and spell resistances by almost 6k. And some people might be like, yeah, but I'm running Master Sword and Board, or I'm running, you know, I can just put Pierce and I get major and minor fracture. Well, we have access to minor fracture through Power of the Light, and it also is giving us a very sneaky burst, okay? So we already have minor fracture, and we're getting major fracture from this armor set, and this allows us, here's what the rotation looks like with Mechanical Acuity and that armor set paired together. I gap close to the target, I put Power of the Light on them, or I put Power of the Light on them, gap close to them, spam jabs, and I can get 2 full rotations of jabs off on the target by not having to put Power of the Light on them, gap close to them, hit Pierce, and then switch to my 2-hand bar. I can get another full rotation off on somebody. Okay, so my likelihood to finish somebody or burst them down increased exponentially by getting rid of that one step, having to apply Pierce. Okay, So this combination is extremely dangerous, and with 29k pen, and you can get more pen out of the build, we'll show you how, but with 29k pen, you're full penning on almost every medium armor build and a lot of heavy armor builds right now because of the changes to armor passives. So now we are 3 heavy, 1, 2, 3, and then we're 4 medium. Okay, we're a 3-4 setup right now, and that's been working very well for me. And when we look at the jewelry, infused with weapon damage, infused with weapon damage, infused with weapon damage. If sustain is a problem for you, it's not for me. I would have to say that I'm probably an intermediate to advanced Stamplar user. But if sustain's a problem for you, you can always change your Mundus Stone or come off of the weapon damage, and you could end up putting stamina regen there. Okay, so that's absolutely an option for you. Don't be afraid to do that. I can tell you this, the higher your weapon damage and the more pen you have, the less resources you're expending to kill people. Okay, to kill one person, I'm expending less resources, therefore I need less recovery. Now when you're fighting 1vx or fighting outnumbered, recovery definitely becomes a problem, and so that's the trade-off right here. You could chop probably 4 people down before sustain becomes a problem, and there will be times where I'll gap close to a group of mobs. If I'm in Imperial City, I'll burn them down, repent them, I'm at full stamina, we're back in the fight. Okay, so that's the sets. Let's hover over these real quick. Like I said, this is in training. I would probably, on your bigs are going to be your helm, chest, and legs, I would do reinforced on those. Okay, right now I've got impens. For a little extra armor though, I'd go reinforced. So reinforced, reinforced, impen, 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 or reinforced, impen, impen. Okay, you can also see we've got those prismatic enchants on everything. Alright, and we are Nirnhone. Here's one of the changes you can make. If you wanted to hit 32,344 penetration on this build, basically if someone were at armor cap at 33,000, you're going to full pen on them. It doesn't matter, okay? Now, unless they're running 40k pen and you apply all your, or they're running 40k resistances, sorry, they're over compensating on the resistances, then obviously you're not going to strip everything. You're going to still hit them extremely hard. If you wanted to run a weapon damage glyph on this bar, since you're initiating it with a gap close, light attack, switch to your front bar, and then go, you could. And so hitting 6k weapon damage on this build is really no problem. 6k weapon damage, 29 to 30k pen, destroys people. Okay, let's look at some of the stats here. This is our sword and board bar, and you can see our resistances: 28k, 25k, 2000 crit resistance, 16k stamina recovery. We have another 480 stamina recovery on top of that, so we're at 2k stamina recovery. The way we have that extra 480 is our armor buff. Our armor buff gives us 240 stamina every second, so if you broke that down to recoveries, which are 2-second increments, you can see that right there, what it says. That's 480 additional stamina recovery that does not show up here. Okay, you can see my health recovery is high too. That's good, helps make you feel a little bit tanky. That health recovery is offsetting incoming damage. They damage you, health recovery ticks, and you get some health back in the tank on top of all the healing that you're doing, so that works out really well. Magic recovery, there's not a whole lot of use magic abilities on this, so having lower max mag is fine, and lower magic recovery is no problem on this build. And you can see our crit is about 35%. We're gonna crit often on this build. When you do some jabs and you're spamming those, I guarantee you're gonna get a crit out of one of those, and which will proc your Night Mother's Gaze, and basically you have 100% uptime on that major breach on them. They could cleanse it, you'll turn around and put it right back. Okay, you can also see that our base pin is 4,700, and this is basically our CP and the fact that we're running a 2-hand maul. And the two-hand maul is going to give you 3,300 pen through passives. If you go to your two-hand right here, scroll down and look at heavy weapons. Right at the bottom, maces increase your armor penetration by 3,300, and I've got another 1,400 in our CP, so that takes us to 4,700 pen. So we're going to add up the different sources of pen here just to show you that that's what we get. So we got 4,700 base pen. Okay, this armor set, Night Mother's Gaze, is going to give you 5,948 additional pen, and then Power of the Light applies Minor Fracture, which is an ability. You see there at the bottom, that's 2,974 additional armor stripped. And then when we go and we look, Onslaught, 15,446 physical damage. This attack ignores the target's resistances and grants you physical and spell penetration for your direct damage attack equal to 100% of the amount ignored. So if you hit somebody, there's going to be 15k damage. Let's say an enemy player, maybe it'll hit them for 7, but 15k damage, you're going to chop through 15k pen. And if it's 7, then that puts you at 24k penetration, and in that moment maybe you want to go sharpened, and maybe you want to go with the Lover Munda Stone for even more pen. Okay, but this is a extremely dangerous build, 29k pen. Let's look at some tool tips here. 3,500 on our jabs, we're running reverse slice, Power of the Light, 16,298, 19,315 on our vigor, rally, and then 15,446. We're running shielded assault. This is our hard CC, also our gap closer. It has a little baby damage shield on it, and it might protect a tick of vigor, you know, a heal coming in. This is a flex spot. There's a lot of different things you can run here. You don't need to run Pierce because you're getting that through Power of the Light and through your armor set. So you could run Low Slash, Heroic Slash. You could run, I'm running Absorb Missile in case I run into sorcerers or casters out there. And then we're running Repentance. We are running Extended Ritual. We are running Restoring Focus. And there you can see you also recover 240 stamina every 1 second. So yeah, times that by 2, that's 480 stamina every 2 seconds, and then we're running Spell Wall. Now, Spell Wall can be used both offensively and defensively, okay? And what I'm talking about like that is, a defensive scenario is I run into 3 enemy players and I'm in the sewers, and they're buffing up and running at me. I need to assume that they're getting ready to ult dump me, okay? So I will hit my spell wall and then laugh all the way to the bank as they all 3 ult dump me, and that damage is absorbed for the most part, or blocked, okay? The duration of spell wall, I got 7 seconds to at least get 1 or 2 of them out. This allows me to go 100% offensive. Okay, now in the time that it takes me to hit that, them to ult dump me or get on top of me, I'll get the full 5-second Hell's Fury from Mechanical Acuity. I got a full 5 seconds of thunder to burst through someone, surprising, you know, really surprising them. So I hit Power of the Light on somebody, CC them, and then just let it rip. Okay, if I can get 1 or 2 of them out in my first rotation, now we got a 1v1 and I like my chances, and so that's the play for it. So that's how you would use it defensively, to absorb their ults, or get some healing back in, or if you want to use it offensively, just hit spell wall and then stay on them. So if you're going against a sorcerer, as long as you're on top of the sorcerer, continually gap closing and continually applying pressure, sorcerers a lot of the time miss the fact that spell wall is up because your jabs are going out and they don't see the sigil up. And so every single ranged attack they're firing at you, overloads, frags, and everything except for the Haunting Curse and the Endless Fury, is getting reflected back at them. Plus you're putting a metric ton of damage into them yourself with this kit. So spell wall is the play against sorcerers, and you will eat their face. They better run from you. okay? Let's see. So we talked about the armor sets, and let's talk real quickly about front bar, back bar setup, what that looks like on this, and then we're going to go through CP, and I think we're done. Other than the fact we are a Nord, and we are using the Warrior Mundus Stone. Like I said, if you need more stamina recovery, I would go with the Serpent and get more stamina recovery. And we are using our Tame Takeaway Broth, max health, health recovery, max stam, and stamina recovery. Okay, and anyways, this has been working out really, really well. It's super dangerous. Here's how you do a front bar, back bar setup on it. Okay. Your front bar is going to be mechanical acuity, where your two-hand is. Your back bar is going to be... No, sorry. Your back bar is mechanical acuity. You just need to make sure that you engage the target with your gap closer from your back bar. That will trigger mechanical acuity, and then you can switch to your front bar, which is Night Mother's Gaze. So you've got the weapons for mechanical acuity on the back, you got the weapons for Night Mother's Gaze on the front. Put a Night Mother's Gaze necklace, and then 2 armor pieces for Night Mother's Gaze. So there, for Night Mother's Gaze, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. Mechanical acuity, you'll have 2 pieces here, 1 here, there's 3, 4, 5, okay? So that's how you run a front bar, back bar setup with this same thing. You'll still be able to have Ring of the Wild Hunt, and instead of having the helm of the trainee run chest of the trainee, okay, so you won't miss out on that health, and now you have 2 pieces open and available. And I would run Balor's monster set there, which is going to give you more weapon damage and more pen. It'll absolutely complement that. If you have 500 ultimate, you don't need your ultimate to kill trash mobs or anything like that in the sewers. You don't need your ultimate to even kill players, so you could sit on your ultimate until you really need it. But if you pop a 500 ultimate with Balor's monster set, you're going to get 11,500 pen. You will full pen on cap resistance players with that front bar, back bar setup. Okay, so that's front bar, back bar setup. Let's look at the champion points, and I think we're done. So the ones I like to slot are going to be this. Right now I've got Steed's Blessing, and that gives me 20% additional movement speed out of combat. I've got Plentiful Harvest, and that's going to give me a 50% chance to double my resource nodes. Spartan is my crafter, and I travel around and get all of the writs and stuff like that with him. But so I'll bounce between this and Treasure Hunter. So those are interchangeable for me. If you spend a lot of time in Cyrodiil, these 2 are really nice, Warmount and Gifted Rider. I don't spend a lot of time in Cyrodiil, but I spend a lot of time traveling around getting the surveys and chests and things like that on Spartan, gathering resources, so this pays dividends. I can tell you another thing that's really nice to have is going to be Rationer. It increases your food duration by 30 minutes. That's really nice. And this passive right here, Steadfast Enchantment, reduces the decay on your weapon enchantments, and I've got it by 100%. So that's great. First thing I do on the blue tree currently is I go Untamed Aggressor. That's 150 weapon and spell damage. I make my way up to here, which is Wrathful Strikes, for another 165 weapon and spell damage. And then because everything that we do is direct damage on Spartan, even our Biting Jabs is considered direct damage now, I'm running Reaving Blows. So in CP scenarios, not necessarily Battlegrounds, but in Imperial City, as I'm farming Telvar, trying to make money to afford all these freaking builds, Reaving Blows is pretty nice. You got 7% health coming in as you're hitting your jabs, and that does stack with Pale Order, so that's really cool. I will pick up 40 here. That's that 1400 penetration, 40 points here, and increase the chance to apply a martial status effect by 60%. And then I've got another 100 weapon and spell damage here. And then we'll come up to Deadly Aim. Increase your damage done with a single target attacks by 10%, which is all the damage we do is increased by 10%. So weapon damage, increase percentage of damage, and then healing coming in, okay? And we showed you this tree. I want our crit chance to be somewhat respectable to make sure that we're triggering Night Mother's Gaze, and then I do have 40 points for an extra 1,000, a little over in stamina. Let's jump in here. Quick recovery, increase your healing taken by 4%, and then this is reduce your damage you take for magical attacks. Because we are 3 heavy, for every heavy armor piece, we take 1% more magical damage, and so I've offset that by putting those points there. And currently we're starting to work our way this way. We're gonna probably just put the 10 in here to get to this, so that way we can pump this up to get more healing done. That's our blue tree. So normally on the red tree we start down here. I'll just put the bare minimum so I can start getting access to other things, but dodge roll is important. We'll work our way up to here. Reduce the duration of elemental status effects on you by 25%. That's nice. If you are a class that does not have a cleanse, you better be putting 50 points into that. I've got 40 points into that for 1100 health. And our first slottable is going to be Bloody Renewal. We get 1500 stamina every time we kill someone. So you want to know why our stamina recovery, we can run it lower in CP scenarios. It's because we're getting 1500 stamina every time we kill something. Plus we have Repentance. And this build holds up just fine in Battlegrounds when you don't have access to this CP. So Strategic Reserve, this is the equivalent of 1500 health recovery currently when you have 500 ultimate saved up. Like I said, I don't need my ultimate to kill people, and so a lot of the times while we're killing trash and farming Telvar or doing whatever, or just killing people, unless I need my ult, I won't use it. So 1500 health recovery right there. We also have Juggernaut. While under the effects of a crowd control immunity, you take 10% reduced damage. 10% is the equivalent of major protection. So you have 2 types of CCs in the game. Hard CC 6 is every 6 seconds, okay? That has its own cooldown or immunity window, and then an immobilization or a root has its own as well. I'm gonna take a drink here. So by chance, if you were to flow from one to the other, 6 seconds and then add 4 seconds on that, you have 10 seconds of additional 10% damage mitigation during that time frame. That stacks on if you are a necromancer and you have the spirit mender, spirit guardian that has a 10% damage reduction as well. It'll make you feel super tanky in CP scenarios. So, and then all the way at the top, rejuvenation. That's an extra 150 health, magic, and stamina recovery. So that's our slottables: Rejuvenation, Strategic Reserve, Bloody Renewal, and a Juggernaut. And then you can see we got cost reduction in Break Free, we've got cost reduction in Dodge Roll, we got cost reduction or increased movement speed, and then cost reduction with sprinting, cost reduction with blocking, and we'll work our way this way. That's our CP, everyone. That's the build. And this is Spartan Unleashed 3.0. Extremely dangerous build, trust me, very dangerous. We'll get some Battlegrounds on it if you guys put something in the comments asking for it. And then the other people that I have running this build, I asked them to stop by and leave a comment just so you guys can see what their experience on the build has been so far. So that's all I got for you. Be safe.